The Revolutionary Rebellion, how vulnerability shatters the myth of strength and transforms Black women's leadership. Thank you all for being here today. I stand before you humbled and electrified because what I'm about to share isn't just information, it's a revolution in progress. I recently had the extraordinary privilege of sitting down with Theresa Joseph, a visionary whose work has fundamentally transformed how Black women professionals approach leadership, vulnerability, and community building. To call Theresa merely influential would be a profound understatement. She is nothing short of revolutionary, a force of nature who has single handedly shifted paradigms across industries by daring to challenge our most deeply entrenched beliefs about strength and leadership. Her dedication to helping high achieving women drop their titanium capes and embrace authentic leadership hasn't just changed careers, it has quite literally saved lives. The ripples of her work have become waves, washing away decades of harmful conditioning and revealing a new shore of possibility for thousands of women who once believed they had to sacrifice their humanity on the altar of success. We live in a world obsessed with independence, don't we? We celebrate the self made success story. We admire the lone wolf who needs nobody. We applaud those who power through difficulty without showing a single crack in their armor. And nowhere, absolutely nowhere, is this expectation of invulnerability more crushing than for Black women professionals and entrepreneurs. But what if everything we've been taught about strength is fundamentally wrong? What if true power doesn't come from standing alone, but from being brave enough to lean on others? What if leadership isn't about having all the answers, but about having the courage to show your scars? This is the revolutionary idea at the heart of what Theresa Joseph calls leading in love, a radical reimagining of leadership that begins not with dominance, but with compassion, not with perfection, but with authenticity, not with isolation, but with intentional community. Let me share three transformative insights from my conversation with Theresa that challenge everything we think we know about leadership, vulnerability, and success. First, true leadership, especially for Black women professionals, begins with leading in love. What does it mean to lead in love? It means centering positivity, compassion, and accountability within your tribe. It means recognizing that your most powerful support network isn't defined by longevity, it's defined by who consistently stands in your corner, offering unconditional encouragement and honest feedback. Consider the story of Rachel Cargill, founder of the Loveland Foundation. Rachel's journey exemplifies what it means to lead in love. While navigating higher education as a single mother and surviving abusive relationships, Rachel identified a critical gap in mental health resources for Black women experiencing hardship. Rather than keeping her struggles private, as we're so often taught to do, Rachel made the courageous decision to publicly share her story. This act of vulnerability became the catalyst for extraordinary change. Rachel launched funding initiatives providing free therapy sessions nationwide. Since 2018, the Loveland Foundation has distributed over $5 million toward therapy grants, fundamentally shifting the national dialogue about self care from luxury to necessity for Black women professionals. Rachel's willingness to turn her pain into purpose inspired thousands of Black women to seek help without shame. By leading in love, both love for herself and love for her community, Rachel redefined wellness standards within professional spaces, making vulnerability central to leadership. This brings me to the second insight from Theresa Joseph. Vulnerability is not a weakness, but a strategic asset. We've been conditioned to believe that showing vulnerability is professional suicide, particularly for Black women who already face the double bind of gender and racial bias. We're told to keep our struggles private, our wounds hidden, our doubts to ourselves. But what if vulnerability is actually our superpower? Janica U. Slaughter's journey powerfully illustrates this principle. As a high achieving Black woman leader, Janica faced immense pressure to project unwavering strength despite personal wounds. The expectation was clear: keep your struggles private, never let them see you sweat. But Janica made a different choice. Through her appearances on the Soft Girl Era podcast, she publicly embraced vulnerability as an integral part of her leadership style. She mentored others on using their experiences, even painful ones, as fuel for success. The result? Jenica created ripples of transformation throughout the Black professional community by shifting perspectives around trauma resilience. Her openness encouraged colleagues to build tribes rooted in mutual support rather than silent suffering. She inspired widespread mindset shifts regarding authenticity at work and home. By embracing what Theresa Joseph calls perfect imperfection, Janica helped redefine what it means to lead powerfully with softness as strategy. This leads us to the third and perhaps most revolutionary insight. Success flourishes when surrounded by people who hold you accountable while loving you through every stage of growth. We often think of accountability as harsh, punitive, even judgmental. But what if true accountability comes wrapped in unconditional love? What if the people who push you hardest are also the ones who catch you when you fall? This is the essence of what Theresa Joseph calls building accountable tribes, intentionally cultivating communities that honor both strength and softness. Recent episodes of the Soft Girl Era podcast highlight mentorship networks supporting pastors' wives, navigating unique pressures within faith communities. These women face silent suffering due to stigma around mental health and lacked visible support systems despite the high expectations placed on them as leaders. The solution emerged through the formation of safe spaces where mentorship was prioritized, alongside open conversations about vulnerability, resilience, and self care rituals. The outcomes were transformative: enhanced visibility for those previously unseen, and increased access to emotional resources, promoting both personal fulfillment and effective community leadership. Many participants had long felt isolated until engaging with these networks empowered them through shared experience rather than mere longevity or proximity alone. These communities successfully established ongoing peer led programs addressing burnout prevention among influential women leaders. Models now being replicated across multiple organizations seeking holistic approaches that balance ambition with well being. This example shows how forming intentional tribes based on mutual advocacy, not just history, directly supports thriving among high achieving Black professionals facing unique cultural challenges. Now, I can already hear the objections forming in some of your minds. This sounds nice in theory, but the real world doesn't work this way. Vulnerability gets punished, softness gets exploited. Leading with love is a luxury most can't afford. I understand these concerns. They are valid. The systems we operate within weren't designed for this kind of leadership, especially for Black women. But here's the revolutionary truth: The old paradigms aren't working. The strong Black woman trope is literally killing us through stress related illnesses, burnout, and isolation. The myth that we must do it all alone has left too many brilliant women exhausted, disconnected, and unfulfilled despite outward success. What Theresa Joseph proposed isn't just a nice idea, it's a survival strategy. It's a radical reclamation of our humanity in spaces that too often try to reduce us to productivity machines. And the evidence suggests it works. When Rachel Cargill embraced vulnerability and led with love, she didn't diminish her impact. She created a multi-million-dollar foundation that has changed thousands of lives. When Janica Hughes Slaughter made perfect imperfection central to her leadership style, she didn't lose credibility. She inspired a movement of authentic leadership that rippled throughout her industry. When pastors' wives formed accountable tribes centered on mutual support, they didn't become less effective. They found sustainable ways to serve that prevented burnout and enhanced their impact. This is the counterintuitive truth. Our greatest strength comes not from pretending to be invulnerable, but from having the courage to show up authentically and build communities that hold us accountable while loving us unconditionally. So, where do we go from here? How do we begin to implement these revolutionary insights in our own lives? Theresa Joseph suggests starting with three practical steps. First, audit your tribe. Who consistently stands in your corner, offering both unconditional encouragement and honest feedback? These are the people to invest in, regardless of how long you've known them. Second, practice strategic vulnerability. Start small by sharing one challenge you're facing with someone you trust. Notice how connection rather than judgment often follows authenticity. Third, create or join spaces that honor both strength and softness. Seek communities where you can drop the titanium cape, nurture wellness rituals, pursue ambition without burnout, and rewrite success on your terms. I want to leave you today with a challenge that may feel uncomfortable, even radical. I challenge you to examine where you've been wearing armor that's become too heavy to bear. Where have you sacrificed your humanity at the altar of perceived strength? What wounds have you hidden that, if shared, might become bridges to deeper connection and collective healing? The world doesn't need more exhausted warriors pretending they're invincible. The world needs leaders brave enough to show their scars, to ask for help, to build tribes based on mutual love and accountability. This isn't just about personal well being, though that matters profoundly. This is about creating a seismic shift in how we define leadership across our organizations, communities, and society. Because when we dare to lead in love, when we embrace our perfect imperfection, we don't just transform ourselves, we create permission for others to do the same. And that, my friends, is how revolutions begin. Not with a single heroic figure standing alone, but with brave communities of imperfect humans standing together, leading in love. The question isn't whether you can afford to embrace this revolution. The question is, can you afford not to? Thank you.